Hello, welcome to A Bold and Distant Future. We are a podcast that grew into a book talk, and then we turned into a weekly news show? I don't know what we are anymore, but we take 20 minutes out of our weekly schedule to sort of talk about the week in the news. Today we're joined by two voices we've had around here before. We have Craig. Hello, Craig. And Eddie.
Hello.
Hello, Eddie. We're back to take it apart for you. I think Craig is breaking up on us.
Uh-oh.
I'm back.
Okay. Yeah, it was a lot of stories happening this week, a lot of things flying in and out. I found one cartoon from the Chicago Tribune.
That's a good one.
I alone can fix it. Yeah, pour some gasoline on the fire.
Very effective.
Was that a Tesla or was that a Waymo?
I don't know. I don't think any Teslas went down in this Los Angeles thing. I just saw one cop car and a couple of Waymos.
Yeah, I think 4 Waymos total. So
Was that what it was for? Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't like the destruction of property, but this image came through early in the week before the protests, and I'm just going to let it run. It's about 3 minutes of tanks on their way to Washington, D.C. You can see the Washington Monument in the background, getting ready for Trump's big parade. And these vehicles, howitzers and other military vehicles, came all the way from Texas.
Good God.
This is unedited, and it goes for 3 minutes, and it's a flex. Of course, it's some kind of it's an intimidation tactic, maybe to our own citizens and not to other nations, but I guess it's supposed to be for other nations. I don't know. As someone was saying, I don't know if you watch Jim Stewartson, but he was saying, hey, this is all working out in Trump's favor. He's militarizing Washington, D.C. under the guise of a parade.
Mm-hmm.
If something goes wrong, he can turn all the tanks outward and protect himself,
Mm-hmm.
which is a scary thought.
So you're assuming they're going to leave these in D.C.?
You never know.
I'm just thinking out loud because D.C. already has a pretty bad parking problem. Having been there numerous times in recent history.
It's concerning, whatever's happening with them. This is unedited, one-shot footage. And I found an interesting website that puts out all of this stuff unedited on their YouTube channel. Lots of different footage of different military events and so on. Maybe worth looking at for some of us geeky deep divers out there.
Yeah, the morning news covered it as well, and so I think there were either 68 or 86 Abrams M1 tanks, and then the Bradley fighting vehicle.
That's what it was, the Bradley fighting vehicle.
Yeah.
And only one mule and a dog.
Yeah.
There's 2 mules and a dog, and the dog apparently helps the mules motivate.
Yeah.
Well, it was 2 acres and a mule. What was that? Wasn't that?
Yeah.
That's a movie. 40
Yeah.
acres. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yep.
40 acres and a mule. That was land that was given to freed slaves?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then taken back.
And then taken back. Hey, we want that back. Well, Los Angeles is one of the main topics, and it's like a test market for Trump's new form of intimidation and brutality.
Now, are those ICE agents or are those LAPD?
Those were LAPD, I believe. No, they could have been ICE.
That
You
looks
know,
like a Tesla.
it might be a Tesla.
It's got that line.
Yeah, I don't know.
The paint didn't hold up very well.
You go by the colors. I think the green are sheriffs.
Okay,
The blue are either police. These are National Guard,
right.
the camo. So the blue at the beginning was sort of a dark blue, may have been ICE. You're right. I'm trying to identify the different overlapping military agencies sent into LA. Pretty complicated.
The thing that, speaking of complicated, they didn't plan very well. There was a shot of a concrete floor. It looked like some kind of warehouse where they were all sacked out on the floor, sleeping with their heads on their bivouac packs.
Right. Now, were those...
I'm assuming that Trump ordered them all McDonald's.
Yeah.
I saw that image too. And were those Marines or were those National Guard?
Those were the National Guard.
That was the National Guard. Now, didn't they win the quick court thing that Newsom sent back saying...
Newsom was granted that the power had to control the National Guard had to be returned to him, and then an appeals court that sometime between when I read that yesterday and now, an appeals court has granted Trump a stay of that order until Tuesday, when there will be a hearing on this in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals. Federal Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals.
Well, how did all of these protests start? They started at two places, Home Depot
Yep.
and Ambience Apparel. Two locations where they were picking up...
The Home Depot was near Paramount, and Ambience Appeal is in the garment district where there's a lot of workers.
Right.
If you go to the garment district, it's an amazing area, actually. One can imagine that it would be a mecca for.
Well, then it quickly spread to the Federal Building in Los Angeles.
Yes, they took all they arrested protesters and took them there, and that's when it migrated to the Federal Building.
Right. Then it broke out also in an area called Paramount.
Yeah, that's where the Home Depot was.
I think it's below that. Like the Paramount and Compton are below the Home Depot. It broke out in numerous locations throughout the city in different ways. Maybe the Home Depot and the Ambience one went down. Oh, here's Ambience. I went to their website to see what they're all about. They make dresses and stuff. And I heard they took away about 40 workers there. Maybe seamstresses, people working sewing machines, and other warehouse workers.
No doubt.
Yeah. It's a big facility in the garment district with lots of, I think, lots of employees.
U.S. version of a sweatshop.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, isn't it? But they're not the violent criminals that Trump has been saying that they're trying to rid the streets of. These are people that work day jobs, you know.
I don't know if you heard him backpedaling on this on the news yesterday, talking about, oh yeah, we got to give the farmers and other service industries a break.
Mm-hmm.
We're working on that, I believe is what he said.
So
Hello?
These guys say police. Hello?
Yeah.
Is that Craig there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Yep.
So I'm just showing a timeline. I grabbed these shots from ABC News. Thank you, ABC. Just to kind of show the timeline. Finally, by June 9th, Gavin Newsom announced that he was suing Donald Trump. And this is stating this is a manufactured crisis. He's creating fear and terror to take over a state militia and violate the U.S. Constitution. And I think this might be back at the Federal Building. It seems like all the protests seem to head back there. This was enlightening. It was just a random quote, but it was so clear. In case you were wondering what sparked the LA standoff between protesters and federal agents, this is it. Immigrants showed up for routine ICE check-ins and were detained on the spot. Hauled into the basement, held overnight like fugitives. No warning, no due process, just snatched. Land of the free, right?
Wow.
So that's what kicked it all off. But people hit the streets immediately when this stuff goes down. There's sort of a network of, like the old phone tree that we've talked about here a little bit. The telephone, tree, the emergency tree that you call out other people and let them know what's going on. I don't know how it's done or who's different companies are setting it up, organizations, to let people know.
And I would imagine a page is taken from the Arab Spring as well, and the use of social media to immediately contact that network.
That's a good point. That's an interesting parallel, but you're right. I mean, we have the technology. Mm-hmm. It's just organizing people to use it is the thing. Oh, this was interesting. A union labor leader who came down to the protests to observe what was happening was arrested and taken away.
Yeah.
And then someone put this up. Then they came for a union leader.
Wow.
Which is right from the poem that we've read here before, the old classic poem. First they came for the communists. Mm-hmm. Democratic leadership knocking on doors, asking to go in and look in the detention facilities and being denied access. Maxine Waters did that again, and a few others. A few rubber bullets hit protesters.
Did you see the Australian news reporter who was shot almost point blank? I mean, the guy was like 20 feet away.
Yeah, I did. In fact, I've got a picture of her just before she shot that's coming up next, I think. But yes, these rubber bullets, like there she is.
Yeah, and when you scan to the left in this picture, this line comes up quite close to where she is, and the last guy in the line just turns around and fires on her. Mm-hmm. It's obvious that she's a reporter, and he goes ahead and fires on her anyway.
And what is the thing? Just to clear her from the area, telling her to get back, so they shoot them with a rubber bullet? Man.
And it's really interesting because what is that signaling? It's either that individual soldiers have been, or guardsmen have been given the license then to fire whenever they think, or else their leader or commander on the line is, stating it's okay to fire upon individuals. So there isn't a crisis at all that would necessitate firing upon the crowd. But now individual decisions are being made that, oh yeah, I can do this without repercussion.
Yeah, not to mention
with impunity. Yeah,
the staggering implications about our First Amendment rights.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, when you look at that picture, where's the crowd? There's no big crowd.
Mm-hmm. There is. Yeah, precisely. There's no threat whatsoever. And jumping ahead, and I know we can cover this next time. U.S. Senator, California Senator Alex Padilla, you'll see that story as well, where he was posing a question to Kristi Noem, and because he stood up and walked toward her, it was perceived by her as a lurch, or her thugs, her defense force that was there, and they literally pushed him out of the room and then forced him to lay on his belly, and then handcuffed him.
Yeah, we actually posted the video of that on our Facebook site.
Great, yeah. And now it's on regular broadcast news as well, with those relevant questions being asked, by otherwise timid reporters or broadcasters.
And think about Alex Padilla having three guys basically kneeling around on him,
Yeah,
put handcuffs on him,
as
and
he's saying,
somebody stepped in front of the camera person.
exactly. Yeah, and that,
Speak,
yeah,
Speaker
Right.
Johnson said that Newsom should be tarred and feathered.
yeah,
What a ridiculous
Yeah,
statement.
yeah.
As Gavin Newsom himself puts it, the whole thing is absolutely absurd.
hmm
This is the exact quote. He said, "Look, it's not my lane. I'm not going to give you legal analysis on whether Gavin Newsom should be arrested, but he ought to be tarred and feathered," the speaker said.
and of course,
That's horrible.
yeah, the overwhelming emotional connotations there. Tarred and feathered, and of course, was a late medieval kind of punishment activity. But who bore the brunt of most tar and feathering in the United States?
Yeah,
Enslaved people.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, right away, even the allusion, and the reference you use is loaded with hatred and or either ignorance, and he's just downright stupid, or loaded with a full barrel of hatred and dog whistles allowed.
His racism popped out,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. Here it is again. Yeah.
Trump's Fort Bragg rant, a declaration of war on the American people. He made a speech at Fort Bragg. Was it a graduation ceremony or just sort of a pre?
No.
It was a
It
pre.
was to a bunch of soldiers.
Right.
And the soldiers were
this big event
handpicked.
of his, right?
Yeah. The soldiers were handpicked.
Yeah.
So they had no overweight soldiers.
Yeah,
And
they all had to be on his side.
exactly. And that's the booing and some of the other emotions that were present.
It's like Leni Riefenstahl. He's creating these, manicured events
Yes.
to feed his own propaganda machine, sort of, And he called Los Angeles a trash heap. Entire government under control by criminals.
Yeah.
He doesn't, But the Republicans and the people on his team are loving this. Finally, someone speaking up against the corruption of Hollywood and Los Angeles and the Sin City, For them, this is go, go, go Trump time.
Mm-hmm.
Not only half of the country is outraged by any of this. That's what we have to remember. The No Kings mass protest is happening June 14th. I have a few guidelines we can look at for veteran protesters or returners or newbies. Yeah, what am I saying? So how to stay safer at a protest. Whether you're new to protesting or have been doing it for decades, these tips can help you be safe, prepared, and get your message across. How to prepare. Learn about the issue and the organizations calling for protest beforehand, of course. Have a buddy, stick together, and watch out for each other. Exchange information about who should be called if one of you gets arrested. Make sure someone who won't be at the protest knows where you are and what they should do if you get arrested. Bringing a cell phone, think it through. What would happen if it's taken by the police? Make sure to have your phone locked when not in use and that notifications don't appear on the screen. I tend not to bring my phone. Others bring their phone.
Yeah. I'm not going to.
Yeah, I'm going to leave mine behind too. I'll take an old digital camera, take a few pictures. But some people don't want you taking pictures of them also, It's sort of, you want to be kind of careful who you point your camera at. Know your rights.
Sketchbook and draw really quickly.
I was thinking, bringing a watercolor kit. That would be eccentric. That's my kind of cup of tea. You have the right to freedom of speech and assembly, but that doesn't mean the law enforcement will respect those rights. You can only control yourself, not law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
The best way to keep yourself and others safe is not to talk with the police. Okay. If you're stopped by the police, ask them if you are being detained. If not, politely and slowly leave. I've been making handouts to give out to people that say, am I being detained? I think I'm going to give a few out. If you or your belongings are searched, loudly say, I do not consent to this search. Everyone wants my friend would ask him, hey, come to the protest. He goes, I don't need more pictures of police officers. You end up just wanting photographing, the police. Oh yeah, while you're there, stay hydrated. Keep the focus on the demands of the protest centering on the message of those most impacted by the issue. Look out for others. We're all safer when we take care of each other. Don't engage counter-protesters. I hadn't heard this one. Do use the 4 Ds of bystander intervention. If they are harassing another protester, distract, delegate, direct, and delay. So if there are counter-protesters there, what does that mean? Like Trumpers showing up? Distract, delegate, direct, and delay. Don't talk to the police. Again, don't talk to them. Don't take pictures of people's faces without permission, but do take pictures of cool signs and so on. Well, this is going to be an interesting weekend. I hope it goes off peacefully and that everyone is safe. And I hope the news media covers this event on the 14th. Thank you for being here, guys. It's a quick show. So much to talk about, but I appreciate you spending these few minutes with me.
As well. So very, very important. It's all the small, subtle, quietly unreported experiences that are equally important, if not more important, because that's where we're seeing the censorship and the curtailing of normal protocols that allow for free and independent society, like asking a question and then being handcuffed as a result.
Yeah.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Eddie, for being here. And thank you for anyone listening to A Bold and Distant Future. Be safe, everyone.
Stay safe at your No Kinks March.
We will.
We will. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.